Howdy folks, let's play some more Dominion. Just a little bit more background info before we really get rolling. Today we're going to be sort of wrapping up our look at Isotropic since it is going to be going down in a couple days. I just thought it would be nice to, just sort of see what it's like. If you see this video before the 15th, you might want to go down and get your feet wet there, dabble in it a bit. And after that, well, I don't know, figured it might be interesting just to sort of see what it used to be like. Isotropic was a fan-made thing. The fella Doug Z who made it is friends with Donald X who made the game. So it sort of had his blessing to stay up until there was an official version released. They even actually used it for some playtesting. But there is an official version released now, and I guess the Goku version did finally come out of beta. So they've been asked to shut down, and they're complying with that. So that's why we can't have nice things anymore. Anyway, let's get started. Alright, so today we're going to be playing a match. I'll leave it in the image interface. You can see we've joined the Great Hall lobby. Down here you can see all the different players. The little red diamond means that they're registered, which, as you can see, most of the people who actually play on here do take the time to register. If you don't register, people don't generally want to play with you very often. The little red number is your level. You can see I'm level 21, which is probably higher than I should be because I haven't played a whole lot recently. Anyway, some of the features of this particular lobby, the big thing is you have an auto matchmaking feature, which has worked pretty well. You could filter it, so you can set it to only find you matches that are registered, so that you get matches that count towards your leaderboards. And you could also filter by rank relative to yours. If you, especially at the higher levels, it becomes much less beneficial to just play anybody if you're really going for leaderboard progress. Veto mode, like I was telling you in the last video, where it selects extra cards for the kingdom and each player gets to reject one of those cards. It's pretty popular on here, but you can set it to yes or no, or you don't care. Likewise with the point tracker, I always leave that set to require. If you want to play with cards from a specific set, you can tell it to weight those cards a bit heavier. And that's really about it. Usually the game's designed for, I think he said, 2 to 6 players. And see, we've already found a match here. The game's designed for 2 to 6 players. Donald X has gone on record as saying he prefers it for 3 to 4. But a lot of the more serious competitive scene prefers it for 2 people. So a lot of folks prefer playing that way, and a lot of the strategy is oriented toward that. So you can see we did have veto mode on for that game, so you can see we each took a turn to veto a card. Alright, so let's see, looking at this board, nothing is really jumping out at me immediately, but bishop's a pretty decent card, so we're going to play with that. A lot of the time for openings, you want to avoid playing 2 actions, or avoid buying 2 actions, unless they're what they call non-terminals, which is they give you the actions back when you play it. If you draw them both together on your next turn, then one of them's going to be useless and you're going to lose a good bit of tempo. Bishop's a nice card because it trashes. Trashing is pretty important in Dominion. It helps you get cards you don't want out of your deck, so you can sort of have a nice, lean kind of deck. It's much better to have a few good cards than a bunch of crappy cards. As you can see, it gives you $1 and it gives you a victory point. That was another thing I was talking about in the last video, the victory point tokens. They're quite helpful. Also gives you $1, which is always nice. And each other player may trash a card from its hand, so it is a bit of a drawback for you. But if you trash a card that costs money, you get points equal to half that money, which is kind of helpful for the estates, like I'm doing. Because you get to keep the point that you would have from having the estate, but it's not taking up any space in your deck. This looks like a pretty straightforward board to me. I'll probably get a Noble Brigand at some point. Let's get an upgrade here. Upgrade's a nice card because gives you +1 card, +1 action. That's what we call a cantrip. It replaces both the actual physical card and the action used to play it. So those tend to not have as powerful effects as some of the cards that aren't like that, but since it replaces itself, it's a pretty safe card. You can buy a bunch and not have to worry about running out of actions. I'm going to get cash here, because the copper works kind of nicely with bishop. Normally you don't want to buy a whole bunch of caches because they'll flood your deck with copper. But since I have the bishop and he's also playing bishop, I'll have plenty of opportunities to trash those copper. And you can see the point tracker here. It's taking into account both the cards that are still in our deck. You see I've already sort of lost a few steps on them, and the VP tokens that we've gotten from the bishops. So it's a very handy tool. Yeah, see, with both me and him playing bishop, there are going to be very few. It's not going to be a big problem if I wind up with some copper in my deck. Let's see, this is going poorly. Let's upgrade a silver. Take Spy. Spy is another one of those cantrip cards. I don't really like trashing my silver, but it gives me VP, and silver's not that great here. Okay. And we'll go ahead and grab the Noble Brigand. I'm trying not to take too long, so I can't leave the mouse overs on screen for as long as I'd like, because I don't want to keep this fellow waiting. Alright. So you see, he's trashing a province, which is always an interesting move. You lose out on a few points that way. You get 5 VP instead of the 6 you'd normally get for having a province, but it does help keep your deck trim. There's also a trick with some combinations of kingdom cards. You can play what's called the golden deck, where you just trash almost everything in your deck, but you wind up with a deck that you play bishop every turn on a gold, and that's worth 4 VP a turn. So if you can set your deck up sufficiently to keep that going, where you can do it every turn, it's very hard to stop if your opponent can't beat it before you get it set up. Alright, so one thing, I'm going to lose this game. That's pretty much a conclusion at this point. And in fact, I did. There's something called a penultimate province rule. Since the game ends when all the provinces are exhausted, the game ends when all the provinces are exhausted, so a lot of people, it's a good idea to pay close attention to the score once you're getting close to the end of the game. I broke that rule. I broke that rule when I bought that province towards the end, because I was far behind and I felt that was my best chance. But in a two-player game, if you buy the penultimate province, that frequently leaves the other person a chance to buy the last province and finish the game and win it. So the general rule is, if your opponent can do that, you don't want to buy the last province. You want to buy duchies or whatever other sources of BP you might have on the board. You'll frequently see a game get sort of towards the end, and if it's a close game, people will sort of jockey back and forth buying duchies, or in this case you might see some farmlands, until one of them has enough of a point advantage to safely buy that penultimate province. But yeah, you have a nice little log function here. You can see the last few turns. It's also got a game log. It opens up in a new tab, and you get a very nice detailed log of everything that happened. Those are all tracked. I believe you can look them up here. There's also an external site called Council Room that does a lot of stat tracking and stuff like that. I don't know if they're going to update that and have it work with GoCo or not. I haven't been keeping track of that. But anyway, that sort of concludes our look at the Isotropic server. Next time we're going to be sort of diving into the meat of the ELP. We're going to be looking at GoCo. I don't have tons of experience with the most recent iterations of GoCo. I played it some in beta, but I believe they're out of beta now, so I'll sort of be learning a little bit alongside you guys as we go through it. Thanks for watching.